Welcome to Gardening with Daddy Pete. Let's join our host, Melvin York.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Melvin York, and you're listening to Gardening with Daddy Pete today. I want to thank you for tuning in. And if you happen to be by the computer, we want to talk about some of Daddy Pete mixes today and our soil additives, our mulches, what they can do for your garden. The reason I'm doing that today is we've had so many questions about uses of our mixes, what works good, what works well. And it's just like building a house. When you're growing a garden, you've got to have a good foundation, and you start with the right soil preparation, and then you can build from that to help you be a successful gardener. Here at Daddy Pete's, that is our slogan. We help you grow, and that's what we most definitely intend to do. If we can, that's why that we do have the question and answer pages on our website. If you don't know what that website is, you can go to www.daddypetes, and that's with an E.com, www.daddypetes.com. And just go to the page, and you can look on around there, and it gives you our podcast. Also gives you an opportunity to sign up for some of our monthly gardening tips. You'll find another one to sign up for. It gives you recipes to use for some of the vegetables and fruits that you're growing, how to use some of your herbs. So we're going to get started off today. Have a lot of different people asking, okay, I'm going to build raised beds, and I'm starting out new. How do I do that? Well, with a raised bed, first of all, you want to find a spot in your yard or on your property that's not hopefully sitting in a low-lying area. If it can be actually sitting a little bit on the hill or up on top where you get drainage from the rain and the weather, it would be perfect depending on what you're going to grow. If you're going to grow some of our cold weather crops in the early spring, late fall, may want to pick a place that has just a little bit of shade going on, because those do like to be a little cooler. It saves them from going to seed, or we call it bolting. So anyway, make that raised bed. I like to remove any grass or any weeds that's below that and out about a foot around my raised bed. Put down some good landscape cloth. Now, I like to use landscape cloth for a lot of reasons. It's a good weed barrier, but it also lets the excess moisture drain through. If you do have any plants, depending on how deep you do that the roots get into, they can go through that. And that's always a plus, believe it or not, to do that. So anyhow, once you get that site picked out and you get that prep, then what you're going to need to do is go get some good soil. So you want to use our Daddy Pete's raised bed mix. Now, our raised bed mix is excellent for vegetable gardens, works good on annual beds, works good, again, on your herb beds. So it's kind of an all-round raised bed mix that you can use in any one of the settings. I've had people ask me, okay, I built the raised bed, I've used it, but my raised bed's going down naturally. Its organic matter is decomposing more. When you pull out the vegetable stalks from last year, you're going to take dirt with it. But then again, organic matter is alive, it's producing nutrients. Your plants, believe it or not, have usually uptake some of that liquid type soil into their stems and produced a good fertilizer, good food for your veggies, or whether it be herbs. So what do you do to replenish that? Do I go back and buy more raised bed? You can. Yes, you can. Or you can use several other of our different products to refresh that raised bed. Now, what I do recommend is that you pull all the weeds, get all that out before you start to refresh. And that is, if you're doing it for the winter time, if you're getting ready, prepping it over the winter, going to have it for your spring, early spring garden, your cold weather crops, that's fine. Go ahead and get it done. If you're going to refresh it after your cold weather crop before you start your spring, summer crop, that's fine too. But either way, I'm going to give you a couple hints on what you can do. Again, you can go back with our raised bed mix and it'll be perfectly fine. If you want to give it just a little bit more drainage, found out, I need just a little bit more drainage where my bed is sitting, you can use Daddy Pete's planting mix. Just fill it up with that and mix it in with your existing soil. Make sure you do that. Just fork it over and stir it around, get everything going well there. Or you can use our lawn and garden soil, which again works well for that. So you've got three choices there when you want to bring that bed back up to what I call standard. I like for my raised beds to be full. I actually do like my plants to be planted level with the top of my raised bed. I like to keep it there or no more than 1 inch below. Reason being, again, if there's any excess water, so we run into one of those rains that we have for 3 or 4 days, then it can run over top if it needs to, if the drainage in the bottom's not enough. But that's the main thing. Keep a good drainage, keep a good drainage soil. This is the foundation for your success in your garden, whether it be vegetables, whether it be a strawberry bed, whether it be a garlic bed, onions, or whether it be for just herbs completely. What about a perennial bed or an annual bed? Still fine, but you can use that for that. And that will just about guarantee you to be successful with your soil. So we want that, and that's your first start. That is the foundation of having a good raised bed garden. Now, let's move on just a little bit. Let's just say, okay, I've got mine going good. I really didn't lose that much soil in the first year, but I want to, kind of beef up my nutrients. I want to add some more nutrients. I'm going to give it just a little more. Well, in that case, you can use 1 or 2 of our products and will work very well for you. And that is our Daddy Pete's composted dairy manure. You can mix that in while you're planting or around after you've planted. Try not to disturb the roots of your plant. Or you can use our kicking chicken. If you seem like you're growing a high feeder, high nitrogen feeder more like green beans would be one, just use the kicking chicken. Maybe you've added some other stuff. It wasn't completely all Daddy Pete's. I got it going. I need to really get some nutrients heading that way. Use the kicking chicken. So that's where your cow manure and your kicking chicken really does come into play. If you built that bed with Daddy Pete's raised bed, or you've used one of our products, you've already got some of our dairy manure working in there. Again, it's always nice per season to freshen it up a little bit, keep those microbes going, keep everything healthy, and keep it all working. Again, if you've used someone else and they're low on nutrients, use the kicking chicken. And another one that you can also mix in that does a great job is our mushroom compost. So there's 3 things that you can go back in and kind of revitalize, rejuvenate that bed, and keep everything going like you would have it to be. Now, that kind of gives us to that point, those products. Let's go on into the lawn, okay, this time of year or before. And then a lot of times we wind up with bald spots in the yard. Maybe we've had some work done, just like I had lately. I've had the power company out. I added another security light. So the backhoe went through the yard, and now I've got red dirt everywhere that's going to have to be attended to if I want my grass to grow. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab our planting mix, because it does have some aged pine bark pines in it. I'm going to till that in to the red clay, and that way I know that I'm breaking up the red clay. I'm giving it some aeration, plus I'm giving it some nutrients. When I get that all settled down, I will probably go back with either a layer at least 1 inch thick of our lawn and garden soil or our sandy loam topsoil. I don't know which one I'm going to use yet. Either will work, but I haven't made up my mind. Probably it's just whichever one that I grab the quickest. Sow directly into that, and I straw over that. Water well, and I should have grass coming back up, and everything by the end of summer should look like it has not been touched. And that's the good part about that. So these 2 products will work well if you're doing anything like that. Actually, there's 3 products. It'd be the lawn and garden soil. It would be our sandy loam topsoil. But if it has disturbed the dirt in a manner of which mine did with backhoe digging or trenchers digging, I like to add some of our planting mix before I start tilling in, and then go from there. That'll be my base coat. Again, everything's about foundation, getting everything right to start with, and then you will be successful. It's just like building a house. If the foundation is not right, the house is not going to stand. It's not going to look right. One side sink. It's not going to perform the way it needs to perform. Same thing in gardening, same thing in lawns, same thing in anything you grow. The first thing you do is you make sure that soil, regardless if it's in a row garden, if it's in your yard, if it's in a pot, if it's in a raised bed, that is the first thing. Our soil needs to keep our plants happy, whether it be perennials, whether it be herbs, whether it be fescue, whether it be Zoysia grass, whichever the plant that we're doing, our shrubs, we need to make sure those are happy too. So these are some of the things that our soil mixes are good for. So again, when you head to the yard, think about the planting mix. If you've had aggressive work done in the yard, if you're just going to patch some spots, you can either use our lawn and garden soil, or you can use our sandy loam topsoil. Put down a couple inches, rake through it, put your seed down, straw over it, water it in good, and keep it watered as recommended by the Extension Service, whichever top grass that you're using, whether it be Zoysia, whether it be crabgrass, not crabgrass, but Bermuda grass, or fescue type. That is the way to wind up with a good yard, and it really will work well. A lot of people ask me this: okay, I am growing in pots outside. I like to have my perennials outside. I have some smaller ornamental bushes outside, but I keep them in 10, 15-gallon pots. What do I need to use to plant there? I would start off with, if it's a shrub, using either our Daddy Pete's perennial mix, which gives you a good drainage, or use our potting mix, depending on how much water that you get naturally, how many inches per year, and then again, how hot it is. In other words, how much watering does it require in your area? If it's something that requires a lot of watering in your area, I would most definitely use the potting mix. If, in fact, you are prone, like the mountain areas, to a little bit cloudier, a little bit more rain, then I would use the perennial mix in my outside pots. If I was planting annuals in pots or perennials, I would either use the perennial mix or our potting mix there. So that just kind of gives you a good choice of which way that you can go with some of our mixes. Now, we didn't get a chance today to go over every mix we got. And what we'll do is we will go on, and the next podcast we'll try to finish those out when we get into something like the Pete Lights, our professional lawn and garden mix, our planting mix, our nursery blend, our Sea and Farm mix, which is really a super mix. And that's one that I do want to take some time and tell you about. I have a lot of questions about that. So I do appreciate you tuning in and listening to us. I want to encourage you to go to our website, again, as we mentioned at the first of the broadcast, and it's daddypetes.com. Click on the place where it says to ask a question or leave us a comment. You can listen to all of these podcasts. They've been archived on there. Sign up for our free email newsletter on gardening tips that fit each and every month of the year, whether it be we may talk about pruning tips, planting tips, sowing tips, getting ready tips, even maintenance on your tools. We talk about different things. So we do encourage you to go there and sign up for those tips and to leave us a comment or a question. And that's exactly how we did this podcast today, is all the questions that listeners like you have actually sent in their questions. And I so enjoy hearing it. I really do appreciate you first-time gardeners. And if there's anything we can do to help you, that's what we're here for. We're going to go ahead and try to get out of here, and we'll catch you at another time. You've been listening to Melvin York, and this is Gardening with Daddy Pete.
Thank you for joining today's Gardening with Daddy Pete. You can check out our website at daddypetes.com for additional gardening tips and our podcast at gardeningwithdaddypete.podbean.com. You can also join us on Amazon, Apple, or Spotify.